Hello everybody, and welcome back to another episode of the Homebrew Review. I'm not exactly reviewing it, you are. So what we got today is going to be Crystalized Tiers. It's kind of like a at-home crafting system, or if gold's not necessarily cutting it, you'll have some sort of magical currency that you'll be able to imbue different craftables with. So what we're going to be talking about today is Crystalized Tiers. What exactly are Crystalized Tiers? When you cry, sad, angry, or even joyful tears, you're going to have a crystallized tier appear, and that crystallized tier will have an inherent magical ability. Your emotions are powerful. Everyone knows the trope in different types of TV shows where your anger unlocks the next power to be able to take on the big bad. This is kind of like that. It is an emotion in a bottle, and you're able to harness that magical energy. Now, not all of these crystallized tiers are the exact same amount of power or rarity. You're not going to find someone who cries tears of joy and has a crystallized tear of joy is a lot more rare than somebody who cries tears of sadness. So the value and rarity of these tiers truthfully comes from the emotion. And when it comes to the types of tiers, there's sad, angry, and joyful. Joyful being the most powerful, angry the middle, and sad being the most common. You'd be able to tell them apart from their size and color. A joyful tier would be much bigger and actually be like sunlight in glass. An angry tier would be jagged and it'd have these red stripes all throughout it. And a sad tier is just the cool blue. Maybe even have like a foggy gray a part of it to show that it's just a little bit lesser. But it's only lesser in comparison to the other tiers because one sad tier will fetch you 5 gold. But it'd be much more likely for you to keep that tier and use it for something like crafting items and magical weapons, making food to give you temporary buffs, or possibly even imbuing your spells to have a little bit more of oomph in a specific direction. And that's essentially what these tiers are going to be. It's a magical crafting system, but it's also a currency that you're able to divvy out as the GM. And you can even have these tiers, the economy and currency, be at the forefront of the story. And I'll tell you how to do that in just a little bit too. So real quick, I just want to go over what exactly the tiers conversion rates would be. One sad tier. Think of a sad tier as the baseline. That's the lowest amount of power that you can have from a crystallized tier, and one sad tier costs 5 gold. But an angry tier would cost 50 gold. It's 10 times more powerful than a sad tier. And keeping the trend going, we're also going to be having our joyful tiers being 10 times more powerful than an angry tier. That making happy tiers worth 500 GP. Essentially, a happy tier is the equivalent of a common magic item. In value, at least. So I think I've explained enough about what these tiers actually are, but what do they do? First, we really have to look at alchemy enhancements. Improving your potions, poisons, acids, and more. Any of your alchemy concoctions can be improved by a specific metric like damage, amount of people affected, or even duration of the effect. And in alchemy, it would be really easy to add a tier to a potion, mix that all together, and now you have an improved concoction. I don't want to get into too many details of how you would do this specifically, but I'll just give you a few quick labels of how you might be able to improve your potions or concoctions. You could increase the potency to heal more or do more damage. You could extend the duration of your potion, make it a 10-minute, 15-minute, 20-minute potion as far as you'd like to take that. Giving you a potion that might have multiple uses. Perhaps you only need to drink half of that potion now to be able to get the full effect, and you can pass it on to someone else. Everyone knows what a splash potion is, just throw it, and anyone splashed with the potion would happen to get the effect. And I know some of you have some homebrew rules to do that since Baldur's Gate 3 has come out. Or maybe you just wanted a potion to have a delayed activation. Drink a potion in about 20 minutes it activates, or perhaps your poison activates in about 20 minutes. That could be intense. You might also want to enhance the flavor of whatever liquid. This could be a very minor effect and kind of moves over into the cooking that we'll talk about soon. But you could also neutralize a resistance with your concoctions as well. Adding a specific amount of tears into your alchemist fire could make that an intense alchemist fire that resists resistance. But here's the thing. Magical items are often bought at a magic shop, and there's not really a enchanter around to be able to imbue magic items. So there are different ways and tools that allow your players to craft specific things. So what if they were able to imbue those specific things with magic? And that's where these tiers come in. If your leatherworker was able to create a leather armor body, now they can enhance it +1, 2, and 3. I should warn you, the cost of enhancing a piece of weaponry or equipment could be pretty high. A +1 enhancement costs 1 happy tier, which is about 500 gold. But a +2 enhancement, we're looking at 5 happy tiers. And if you want the +3 enhancement, that's 25, continuing up by there at an increment of 5. But at the very least, you could start encouraging your players to craft their own equipment and armor based on what they've been able to gather in the world, instead of just asking the local magic shop for the flying boots. Now that's just specifically improving weapons and armor. What if you wanted to create a magic item with a magical effect? So for the most part, magical items are already ranked by common all the way to legendary, and there's an average cost between those. And that's how much it's going to take to be able to craft a common to legendary magic item. If you want to craft a uncommon magic item, then we're going to be looking at around 1 happy tier or 500 gold. But if you want to craft a legendary magic item, well then, bucko, I'm going to need at least 50,000 gold, which is well over 100 happy tiers, and that'd be really hard to gather in-game. That's why legendary items are usually reserved for level 17 people. But if you get there, you can do it. So, aside from enchanting and potion making, there's also going to be the culinary arts. And this one I'm really passionate about because I think everyone could actually use it at their table. Being able to use magical tiers in your cooking could imbue that food with specific effects that last throughout the end of the day. You don't have a cleric, druid, or paladin in the party? Now it's not a problem. You're able to give your party some temporary hit points should you be able to add in a sad tier, 5 hit points per tier and per person. Maybe you just wanted an angry tier added to the food to imbue it with elemental resistance. Pick one element from the start of the day and now you're resistant to that element. And it's 1 angry tier per person. What if you just wanted to give yourself advantage on rolls? You could do that too. 1 sad tier to your dish, now you have 1 advantage on 1 specific roll, ability check, or attack. But what if you wanted that to last for the day? 1 angry tier added to your dish will give you a persistent buff on an ability check, stat, or attack rolls, or even saving throws. Wherever you want to put it with the intention of your culinary arts, now you can. And you might also notice that sad or angry tiers might not be the best tasting things, and that's when we're really going to start to get into like the economic impact of it, because the high and affluent people would use happy tiers in their cooking because it would give such a lovely taste and a sense of being full, kind of like a good berry. So the rich people caviar in this world might just be imbued with happy tiers. And there's one more thing that I think tiers would be able to accomplish in your world, should you let it. That's enhancing spells, scrolls, and rituals. With rituals, you could simply speed up the time or effectiveness of whatever the ritual was. But if you were going to enhance a scroll, perhaps you're now able to cast that specific scroll imbued with a tier at a higher spell slot. But what if you didn't have a ritual or a scroll that's something that takes time or is physical that you can alter? But what if you used your tier as a spellcasting focus and now you're able to enhance your spells? Almost like the Sorcerer's Sculpt spell, but not as powerful, and it has a high cost, being tiers, which are getting pretty pricey by this point. But in D&D, it's a common complaint to have too much gold and nothing to spend it on, so this could be it. But how would you increase your spells? You can increase the spell's potency by just doing or healing more damage. You can extend its range to make it go just that little bit farther. The enemy's running away. Now a tier will help you get them. Or just increase the duration of a spell. Oftentimes it'll be a minute that the spell lasts. Now maybe you can get it a minute 15, a minute 30, or even longer, depending on what tier you're using. And we even have a chart down below that ranks the spells and what type of tier should be used for the level of spell. Of course, our crystallized tiers are consumed upon use, and you can't necessarily stack effects on top of each other should you be trying to spell scope this, that, and the other thing. You can only use one at a time. But lastly, everybody, this kind of takes us to the economic and ethical implications of crystallized tiers. In your world, people literally produce magic through powerful emotions, and your government is going to try to take advantage of that. Tier banks are going to be all over the world willing to pay people for the magic that they produce. And that's just the up and up societies. You might find more unscrupulous means out in the deserts and other kinds of things where slavers just beat and berate different types of people to kind of produce sad tiers in excess. And who knows, maybe the more affluent cities don't really care where their tiers are coming from. There's so many great setups for a story that crystallized tiers could set up for you, and if this was used in your campaign from the very beginning, it could actually just explain the high magic fantasy setting that you've been trying to pull off. But for me, everybody, that's going to be Crystalized Tiers, my homebrew crafting system. What do you guys think? And if you guys want to check that out, I've got the PDF down in the description totally for free. Let me know what you think, and until next time, y'all, I'll see you later.